Sorry.
All right. Welcome, everybody. It looks like people are starting to join on to the webinar. Sorry if you were sitting in the waiting room a little bit. We are experimenting with the new webinar platform, and but are excited to have everybody in here. So it's fun watching the numbers of attendees start to get logged in. So we'll give that another second. Okay, well, it looks, the numbers still keep going up, which is good. That means that people are getting in off of the waiting room. If any of you are having troubles with audio or not being able to see the presentation, just go ahead and use the chat function, and we should be able to help you with that. We are doing this is a webinar version of Zoom, not just the meeting platform, so you won't be able to turn on your audio or video if you have an issue, but we can still use the chat function. So go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Power Hour this month. Is zero energy the solution to housing affordability? My name is Neil Bonsgard, and my pronouns are he and him. I'm a project manager here at the Environmental Center and through the Energy Challenge. And a few more housekeeping items before we get too far into this. We are using Zoom. There's both a Q&A function that you should be able to see as one of the options, as well as a chat function. The chat function, you can put your questions in both of them. We'll be monitoring both. But if you want to ask a question, you want to maybe see an answer that we could all see together in that page, then the Q&A section might be a little bit better for that. We are also working on getting this up on Facebook Live as well. And so anybody that's on Facebook Live, you can go ahead and comment on there as well as the presentations are going, and then we'll answer questions in the end. So we are, we have a lot of participants here already, and we want to see who is here. So Lindsay, I think you have access to be able to start the poll. And so if you wouldn't mind, the poll has just populated. So go ahead and we'll give you about 20 seconds to complete the poll. We're trying to get a better idea of who's coming to these events, what your interests and backgrounds are, and just who we have in the audience. So then we can get a better idea and make sure that we can tailor the message and future events towards who's actually coming. All right, we'll give that a couple more seconds. Looks like some of you might have been having some challenge submitting that. No worries at all. We'll get whatever information we can get out of there. Okay, so we can, we'll wrap up the poll there and go ahead and get started into some more of the main program. So a lot of you may be familiar with the Environmental Center, but we do have a lot of new folks joining us today. So I just wanted to take a moment to connect this event with the Environmental Center for those that aren't as familiar with our work. We work alongside people of all ages, local businesses, and elected officials to create and advocate for meaningful change, meaningful and lasting change that everyone can be proud of. An example of our involvement was rallying with the community and approaching City Council with a climate resolution and participating on the steering committee that helped shape the City of Bend's Community Climate Action Plan. If you're not familiar with the plan, I encourage you all to learn more about it, as our discussion today is an important piece of moving forward both the climate action plan and questions about affordability in particularly in Central Oregon with that plan. Another big event that we have coming up is our annual green tour. This year we are doing things a little bit differently, and it will be our first ever virtual tour. We're going to take advantage of the fact that it's virtual with a keynote speaker coming to us live from Washington, D.C. We have Sam Rashkin coming from the Department of Energy that's doing our first keynote. And then over the course of the week, starting September 21st, we will have a number of live events and panels and information about green building and home design all throughout, kind of targeted for different tracks for lots of different people that are interested. So those will be spread out throughout the week, and hopefully to help experts learn more about you and integrate these really cool ideas into your homes and their homes. Another event to keep on your radar is the next Power Hour. It's going to be in October, and we're working on an exciting one about the home energy score. So stay tuned for details, but definitely a related Power Hour to today's discussion as well. And lastly, I wanted to share some information about a training opportunity from our partner Earth Advantage. As we'll see today, zero energy homes are a big part of the future of home building. And this is a course being offered by Earth Advantage that will take you through some of the latest and greatest techniques for building high performance homes. Earth Advantage partnered with us today to make this event possible. All of the projects that we are talking about today are certified through their program, which ensures that 5 key areas of building sustainability are met. Those are energy, health, land, materials, and water. Another big thank you to our program sponsors that help run the Energy Challenge, the Zero Energy Project, and the City of Bend. And we can't forget our title sponsor of the Power Hour series, the Energy Trust of Oregon. For those of you that aren't familiar, the Energy Trust of Oregon is an independent nonprofit here operating out of Oregon, but they serve over 1.6 million customers, and they are dedicated to helping utility customers benefit from saving energy and generating renewable power. Their services, cash incentives, and energy solutions have helped partnering customers of not just Pacific Power here in Central Oregon, but also Northwest Natural Gas, Pacific General Electric, and Cascade Natural Gas and Avista. They've helped those customers save $3.4 billion on energy bills. Their work helps keeps our energy as low as possible and creates jobs and builds a sustainable energy future. So a little bit about what's in store for us with the Power Hour today. So first, we're going to hear from the Energy Trust, then we're going to hear from Habitat, and then jump to Kor Community Land Trust. We're going to try to wrap up these presentations around 5:45. We are starting a little bit late, so but we'll try to keep relatively close to that. And then we're going to jump into Q&A. That's where we find the most productive components. And so I'm going to give you all a little tip. When I listen to these presentations, I think of all these really interesting thoughts, and then by the time we get to Q&A, it's just crickets. So go ahead, write those into the chat as they're coming to you. We're not going to get distracted with them as we're presenting, but we'll try to summarize them all at the end, or just go ahead and take some notes so then we can incorporate those later on in the presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Mike Lillesand, and he's going to give us a little bit of an introduction on what is zero energy. So Mike, if you want to turn on your video, that's great.
Great, thank you, Neil. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can. All
right. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties trying to keep this charged despite this being plugged in. So my apologies if I cut out If I do, someone, Neil, you can pick up with this slide where I left off, and I'll hop on the phone, be on the Q&A session when we complete.
Sounds
But
good.
So what I wanted to do quick is just kind of provide an overview of what a zero energy home is. I'll go through this real quick, and then I'll hand it over to Bend-Redmond Habitat and Kor Community Land Trust to talk about their individual projects and their zero energy goals that they're currently working on. It's neat to see builders here locally that are building affordably and quality, where zero energy does not need to mean an 800,000 plus home. So what is a zero energy home? A home that generates as much energy as it consumes over the course of a year. So you might have heard net zero. That's another term that's used to identify this same thing. But a home that generates as much energy as it consumes over the course of a year. The benefits of this are control of utility expenses in perpetuity for tenants and homeowners, as the cost of kilowatt hours will inevitably increase over time. So you have the ability to take control of your expenses, which is huge, especially for the affordable housing and income qualified segments, but for everyone as well. Greater comfort, better durability, better indoor air quality, because these are really tight homes. So we have energy recovery and heat recovery ventilators that are being put into these homes. Environmental conservation and stewardship, and then the buying power of efficiency. So if you have the ability to know that this home is going to produce the energy that will be consumed, you have greater buying power, and you can put that money towards these energy upgrades that will allow that affordability and perpetuity. Thoughtful design, efficient use of space, and adequate solar resource. That's very important when eyeing zero energy as a goal. High performance shell is the key. So focusing on the shell first before renewables, making sure that your insulation is dialed in, your air sealing is dialed in. So having a very efficient shell will allow you to size your mechanical systems smaller than you normally would if you would have, for instance, a code-built home. So in paring down those systems and reducing the load on what is needed to run these systems, it inherently leads to energy efficiency. Installation of high efficient appliances and high efficient lighting, such as LEDs. That's what we're seeing. Well, that's code now, is 100% high efficiency lighting. And then after all of that's done, then looking at the solar and sizing that solar accordingly, given that everything else, the low-hanging fruit of efficiency has been taken care of. So that's what we'd like to look at as far as our Energy Trust of Oregon program, is working with builders from the beginning when it's just a concept, and focusing on the design, the orientation, the shell, the mechanicals, the appliances, the lighting, and then looking at the solar aspect, because these homes do need solar to offset that final portion of their kWh, the kilowatt hours. Final thing here is keep project goals front and center from inception to completion. So if a builder is looking to build zero energy, that needs to be a part of the conversation across the entire time frame of the project. Select a builder and specialty contractor, specialty subcontractors that are on board with the project goals and are actually excited to take part and be involved in the project. participate in design charrettes and early design assistance meetings, of which both Bend-Redmond Habitat and Kor have been a part of. And then third-party verification to come in and be another set of eyes and ears to ensure that the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and nothing has been missed along the process. Our local verifier here, Earth Advantage, is our primary verifier as it relates to these zero energy homes. And then finally, take advantage of the Energy Trusts of Oregon cash incentives that we offer. We have a sliding scale of incentives. They cap out about $5,400 when you're looking at a zero energy home per home. And then we also have solar incentives on top of that, and then any applicable state and federal credits that could also be added on to the project. So hopefully that's kind of a foundation to work off of as we continue these conversations today. And I'm excited to be a part of this and answer any questions that anyone has at this point, as well as when we wrap up. Here's my contact info. Feel free to give me a call at any point. I'm the local Energy Trust residential new construction resource here in Bend. Thank you.
All right, great. Thanks, Mike. So next we have Robin from Bend Habitat for Humanity. When it comes to affordable homeownership, Bend-Redmond Habitat for Humanity knows how to get it done. With 150 houses built and counting, our community relies on your organization and volunteers to fill that very important need for affordable homeownership. Today, we're going to learn about some of the newer endeavors, their commitment towards building zero energy homes. I'm going to try to give you control, Robin. So if you have access, I can see your video, but it looks like you might be frozen. All right, it looks like Robin might be frozen, but we'll see. And it looks like she's going to try to log back on. Jacob, do you want to just go ahead and give it a start until she gets back?
Absolutely. This is Jacob with Bend-Redmond Habitat. Thanks again, Neil, for setting this up. Like you mentioned, Habitat for Humanity has been an active participant in building affordable homes and building them responsibly using a variety of available grants during the timeline that we're building. We've been here in Central Oregon since 1989, 150 homes, 1,000 volunteers annually. And we work both in Bend and Redmond. Robin will talk more to this when she's able to log back on. But, you know, we've utilized solar. I think the house in the photo is a home from 10 years ago. So we've used both photovoltaic and solar thermal in many of our projects. Neil, since I don't have control, are you able to opt to the next slide?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Yeah, so you can see some of our bullet points there. Probably the hardest one of all of that is getting 100% of monetary donations to go straight into the home building. Having a full retail operation covers our overhead. And so being able to expand into things like net zero and green building has been an exciting part for us. You can go to the next slide. And you can pull up all those bullet points. So we've done over 20 homes with solar, including a LEED certified home back in 2011. A lot of our homes are already Earth Advantage Platinum, starting from the building envelope. We've worked closely with Earth Advantage to develop our processes in construction to make green building a priority from a board level. And so seeing how green building has adjusted over time, Habitat has been able to adapt our processes to make it more affordable. We want to redistribute those utility savings directly to our homeowners as soon as possible. And green building lets us do that. We're currently going into these zero energy homes doing all electric. And so we'll be utilizing heat pump, high efficiency water heaters, bringing our blower doors down to 1 ACH 50. But it's really not that big of a leap for us. We're already doing solar ready homes. Like we said, we've been working this process for a while. And so we're really excited to take that next step into net zero or zero energy homes. The next slide, Neil. Some of our projects include, we may have skipped the slide, but there we go. Some of our projects, that slide right there will show you 15 of our current projects. Northwest Cottages is an exciting net zero community on land lease coming up, and that's those 9 units in the bottom right. We submitted for building permits last week, and we are looking forward to moving ahead with that one. And the left-hand side, you'll see James Drive Cottage Development. All of those homes were built solar ready, ranging from 600 square feet, 1 bedroom, to a 1,200 square foot, 3 bedroom, built on the cottage code development. So it's fun to build with volunteers. It's really fun when they buy into this concept of awareness of how what we're doing is impacting our community. And so our volunteers and our community have really given us the opportunity to build net zero this year with our Northwest Cottages project coming up. The next slide, Neil. You can see an example of how we do this. We partner with a variety of individuals in our community. This is an example of James Drive Cottage going up, and Skyline High School and Sisters High School both have been building walls in their shop classes and then bring them out to the job site, kind of starting a panelized, modular, I guess, to some extent, wall system construction. And we're trying to strengthen the educational pipeline here in Central Oregon. And so COCC has worked with us to lay out some of our homes in Redmond. Skyline and Sisters are both building some of our wall systems for our net zero project at Northwest Cottages. And so we're really trying to do whatever we can to promote the education of net zero and construction across a variety of platforms. Go ahead on to the next slide, Neil. How we're able to do this is, as I mentioned before, our Restore is doing a great job of covering all of our overhead, meaning all of our money raised goes directly to construction. At the same time, we have a warehouse facility that is new to us, and we are able to buy in bulk and buy at a time and store materials when, for example, heat pump water heaters, we could get them for $400 a unit last year and keep them till this year instead of paying $1,500 a unit. This warehouse also allows us to bring groups into a controlled environment and pre-build our wall panels. So we are branching out into a panelized build system. We're not the next Baxter Builders here in Bend, but we are trying to expand our approach, and it allows us to regulate material loss on site and reuse of materials in our warehouse, store materials, expedite the timeline. There's just a lot of advantages to being able to build this way. So we're really excited about that. And last slide, of course, one of the ways we've expanded into net zero is by developing the land ourselves. And what I mean by that is we can see a cost savings across each unit by not bringing gas to the site. Maybe we save 50,000 over 5 lots is 10,000 a lot. So we can redistribute those funds into more renewable systems that we were unable to fund previously. So developing is a whole nother beast, but a pretty important aspect to being able to reach this net zero mark for us. A lot of our homes already come with first, second, and third liens on the property. So being able to do net zero without a purchase power agreement for our homeowners was pretty important. So we're excited to offer that to our homeowners so they can realize the utility cost savings from day one of their new home. So that's kind of Habitat in a nutshell, trying to catch up a little bit on our timeline, but we're excited to move into this net zero aspect, and we are thankful to have a board and executive director and community behind us to make it a reality.
Great, thank you so much, Jacob, and thanks, Robin. I know she is bummed that she wasn't able to, her internet cut out right at the worst time, but we're going to go ahead and transition over to Amy's presentation with Kor. We really like seeing that innovation, both that we were able to see with Habitat and also the innovation that Kor has been doing in this community land trust model. Amy Warren is the executive director of Kor, and she's here to tell us about how they are going to keep homes permanently affordable here in Bend. Amy, I'm going to try to give you control, but just go ahead and let me know if you want me to advance the slides.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Hi, I'm Amy Warren. As Neil said, I'm the executive director of Kor Community Land Trust, but I'm also the co-founder. I graduated from OSU Cascades Energy System Engineering program in 2015, and very logically used my engineering degree to run a nonprofit. The Kor was founded in 2014, but we didn't get our 501c3 until 2015. Our mission is to provide homeownership opportunities that are both affordable and environmentally friendly to those who contribute to our area, community, and economy. And I kind of like to let that one rattle around in my head and say it again, because those who contribute to our area, community, and economy always brings up, I think, an image for all of us of someone who works and contributes to our community in some way or the other, but is unable to put roots down in the area in the way of stable housing through homeownership. So, Neil, I'm going to try and switch. No, you're going to have to switch. Sorry.
No worries.
Thank you. So I'll just real quick go over what Community Land Trust is, because I know it's kind of a new model to Central Oregon, but it is a nationally recognized model. We are not affiliates like Habitat, but we do operate under kind of an umbrella of standards. Next one, please. The overarching concept of Community Land Trust is trust ownership of the land and individual ownership of the home. Next, please. The way it works is that the buyer purchases their home. They have a long-term ground lease on the parcel that their home sits on. It gives many benefits and rights to the land as if it were their own. And it also comes with a shared equity resale formula. So when the home is sold, it is some equity goes to the homeowner and some equity stays in the program, making the affordability period perpetual. Next, please. So the defining features that make a community land trust different than an organization that's just using a land trust model are primarily the perpetual affordability, meaning it's affordable through time, and the community governance that is tripartite. And what that means is that our board, our governing board, is always made up of 1/3 either those who live in our homes, or those who are, like in our case where we don't have homes yet, representative of the demographic that we serve. Next, please. I think the most important of all of those for us is perpetual affordability, and what that means for folks who help us reach our zero energy goals is that all subsidy that is put into the project, whether it be cash from a foundation or donations, to in-kind support, that it is a lasting donation. The home will never be sold on the regular market. Next, please. So why are environmental sustainability and zero energy part of our values? We all like some little facts and stuff here, so I'll pull up a couple that were kind of grouped together for me when I was in my energy engineering program that sort of spoke to me. So the first one is from the EIA.gov website, and it just basically outlines what the average consumption is for a household, which is about 914 kilowatt hours per month, or almost 11,000 per year. The second is that for those households, our population has increased about 6.3% from July 2010 to July 2019. Next, please. So when you couple that energy usage with the population growth, we have a net gain of about 1 person every 16 seconds. We realize that we're also going to be gaining households, and therefore also, you know, we could do some really fun math, which I like to do, but not tonight, to kind of show how much more over time energy generation we're going to need. So the concept came up in one of my energy generation classes. Next slide, please. What if as our population grows, instead of needing to increase our power production, we develop and build zero energy buildings that don't further tax our power production capacity or our environment? And you know, taking that even a little bit further, what if we could do that affordably? So for my co-founder and myself, when we formed Kor, it was kind of a no-brainer that, you know, this is of course what we want to do. So I graduated, and instead of getting a job in engineering, much to the disappointment of my husband after he saw the salaries, became a nonprofit affordable housing developer. Next, please. Can you do the next slide, Neil?
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry. So in this process of presenting about energy, we would be kind of remiss if we didn't bring up the equity component of our mission. I think that with affordability and environmental sustainability, there's a third leg to that stool, and that is equity. Equity in the energy sector is specifically what I kind of wanted to talk about tonight. Next slide, please. So there are quite a few. Oh, Neil, so this is one that you have to keep paging. Yeah, thank you. Okay. These tricky ones don't work if I'm not controlling it, I suppose. You can do all three. I have 2 more bullet points if you just want to. Yeah, there, perfect, thank you. So there are many benefits to energy efficiency, and you know, feel free to throw a few more in the chat box if you want. But the 3 major ones that I see are obviously reduced or no energy bill. Another big one is that it insulates the homeowner from future increases in energy rates, which inevitably will happen. And there's also a health and well-being component. Next, please. So it kind of, from an equitable lens, it begs the question, should these benefits be afforded only to those with means? Next, thanks. Or should taking care of our environment and reaping the personal benefits of zero energy be more equitable? Should zero energy be the standard sustainable way we develop housing for all humans? And if I were to go back to that first equity slide, you know, we're pretty proud to stand with organizations like Bend-Redmond Habitat to work on removing those barriers. So this looks like something more that is code. You know, we build code buildings that are safe because that is what should be the way for all humans, and we feel the same way about energy. Next slide, please. So now for some more exciting stuff. I'll talk about our two projects we're working on right now. We have two half-acre parcels. Both of them are being developed in partnership with Housing Works. The first one is named Cresita. I'm sorry, that was the second one. The first one is Corazon, and Corazon is Spanish for heart. We're building 5 1,100 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath cottages on this property. In addition to them all being zero energy, we also are going to do a gray water reuse system for watering the common areas. Next. Our second piece of land we just acquired at the end of last year and recently named that community Cresita. Cresita is Italian for growth, and this particular property is in the Orchard District and has 3 beautiful trees original to the Orchard District that still give off quite a bit of fruit. So there was that part. It also is a name that reflects the growth that is available to those who are able to move into the stable home ownership that we offer, and also the growth that our organization is experiencing. Next, please. So we're in the planning phase for this one right now, and it's going to also be 5 cottages, but they're going to be a bit smaller, about 825 square feet, 1 bedroom, 1 bath with a flex space. Next, please. Okay. And this one also has some bullets that come down. Neil, if you want to just bring them all down, that's fine. Thank you. Oh, thank you. So I will talk about what the passive building strategies we're employing at Corazon are. We are not sure if these are going to transfer all over to Cresita because, you know, there's always new stuff coming out, and what the wall system is might be different. We don't know. But at Corazon, we are doing staggered stud framing with 2x8 plates. Our walls are 31. Our crawl spaces are 38, and the lid, depending on where the vault is or how it's done, is between 30 and 60, but closer to 60 for most of the pitches. The U factor in our windows is between 0.23 and 0.25. The air changes are anticipated to be at 1 or less, and I'll come back and talk about that in a sec. We are installing heat pump water heaters, deckless mini splits for heating and cooling, LED lighting throughout, and energy efficient appliances. After all those are modeled, we have an energy balance to cover still to get to zero, and so each home will have a solar array of about 5.12 kilowatts. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about the air sealing. We're doing, Northwest Aero Barrier has generously given us quite a bit of in-kind support in order to be able to do this. And the cool thing for us is that when we plugged this different number into our energy model, we went from having to have about 1.5 inches of spray-in foam insulation in the wall, that not only is not the most environmentally friendly thing, but also was an extra $3,000 per home, to going back to R31 walls with just blowing bats. And that was all because of bringing our air changes down through the really cool technology that AeroBarrier has. Next, please. So the savings that we have can be seen here, the passive strategies. So, you know, if we have an annual energy usage of 11,000, and after our passive strategies, we are getting a % difference from a minimum code built home of about 43%. Next, please. And the way we get there is through a lot of in-kind support. This is our list thus far. We hope to continue to add to it throughout the project. Not all of these subcontractors, what they've given through either materials or time or both is necessarily energy related, but all of the savings allow us to get those energy upgrades. Next, please. So I'm sure at this point you're asking, well, oh my gosh, this is so cool. How can I help support Kor's energy goals? So this is a little spreadsheet of how much our energy upgrades are costing us, how much has been raised so far and how much is remaining. And as you can see, we've got quite a bit of support, and our big pushes right now are solar, and we do have a balance on our air sealing through AeroBarrier. And that's kind of what we're hoping to get support for tonight. We do have a matching donor who's willing to match gifts that are given towards the energy upgrades, specifically the air sealing. And I think Lindsay's gonna talk about the option of how to do that at the end, but our website is korlandtrust.org. You're more than welcome to donate right on the website and just put a little note that says it's for energy efficient upgrades. Thank you, Neil.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Okay, so that wraps up most of our speakers except for myself and Lindsay. So go ahead and keep those questions coming. We've seen a couple of them come through in the chat and in the Q&A section. So I think I'll try to start summarizing this a little bit more. Right, we're asking this question about housing affordability and climate in our community and how these energy efficiency projects and models can help with that. And I think one of the conclusions that we can make is that it's really hard to have a conversation about affordability without having a conversation about efficiency. I really liked Amy's slide showing what her house built to code, or what those homes built to code would cost. And that is a difference of $50 a month, which is a significant difference if you're comparing that to other measures of affordability. So those are really big, and those are conversations about new homes too. And affordability efficiency is pretty all-encompassing. So as Bend grows and we struggle with affordable housing, I think these are really timely conversations to be having. And also just talking about durability. Healthy zero energy homes, we really need to consider that innovation in housing development and how that can help with these being long-lasting investments, and especially in both of these models. So the other connection that we wanted to make here is part of the Community Climate Action Plan in Bend calls for neighbors, businesses, and community leaders to work together to preserve the natural environment while promoting economic opportunity and resilience. So in my mind, I can't think of a better way to do that than with building homes that cost less to operate over the life of the home, have fewer maintenance issues, and healthier indoor air quality. So how do we get involved? We highlighted a couple of organizations here. And there are opportunities to volunteer with both Kor and Bend-Redmond Community Land, or sorry, Bend-Redmond Habitat. And so we will send up follow-up emails with their organization's websites, so then we can follow ways to support their work over time. So we're going to go ahead and switch over to the Q&A. So just as a reminder, if you haven't already, you can comment and ask your questions to the panel. And those that are still here on the call of our panelists can go ahead and turn your videos back on if you'd like, or just unmute yourself. And then I will go ahead and start. I'll start with some of the earlier questions that we have, and I don't know who this would be specifically asked of, but one of the questions that came up was about existing, retrofitting existing inventory. So the question continues to say, are we anywhere near working with HOAs and other neighborhood communities for cooperative electrification, rooftop solar, battery storage, microgrids? Is this even worth discussing, or are we advancing in utility scale renewable productions? Wow, that is a very, that's a very big question. There's a lot going on there, but maybe we can address the retrofitting existing inventory and just some of the forward-looking things that we see on the existing building side. And I'm glad to see that Robin was able to join us back again as well. Does anybody want to take a shot at that?
I'm happy to give our perspective here at Habitat.
Thanks, Jason.
We have worked within HOAs and currently build homes within HOAs, but not, we have found it simpler to develop our own neighborhoods and develop our own HOAs and CC&Rs when it comes to a net zero specific and affordability specific and land lease specific homes. And so there's a lot of aspects I think both Amy and Robin and I are balancing. When we build in another HOA, we tend to build solar ready and have to abide by pre-existing standards. When we develop our own, we're able to create those standards. And that's really how we've been able to realize net zero land lease models here in Bend.
Great. Another question that came in, are single family homes the primary building strategy for zero energy dwellings? So kind of opening the conversation beyond single family residential. I know that that's a space that most of us live in, but maybe Mike, do you want to jump on that? Or Jacob, do you want to talk about other multifamily options?
I don't want to be the only one talking, but I can certainly speak to Habitat. You know, we're still working with horizontally dense development models, meaning side by side rather than vertical, mainly because our primary labor force are volunteers and they don't want to be on scaffolding. So we would like to do a vertical density build scenario. It would require some internal adjustments and process adjustments on our end for sure.
I will add to what Jacob said too, and just say that when we're developing with the land lease model and having our recipients get bank loans for their homes, the lender generally wants to attach a lien to a piece of property. And if that is subdivided where each home has its own piece of property as opposed to condominiumizing, that becomes a little bit sticky with lenders. So the easiest way to do it, it's not impossible, but it's kind of hard if you're looking at a condominium model with land trust.
We have another question. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, you know, we Energy Trust has a multitude of different programs. We have a new buildings program, which is commercial. and also crosses, over into mixed use. So I'm less familiar with the solar incentives and landscape as it relates to that program, but I'll be more than happy to put anyone who's interested in touch with our local staff members here to discuss it more. So
yeah, and we have some really good examples of efficient towards zero energy, not yet zero energy, multifamily developers in Central Oregon. Pacific Crest Affordable Housing has done some really amazing projects that we could dive in on, and it's although the building science can be similar, the hoops that you have to jump through and the development model is a completely different beast. So, but would be happy to highlight that in another time. One other question that Jacob hopped on, but I'd love to get other people's questions as well, is the models that have been shared have been talking about electric, or maybe that's a question for Amy. Your sites have been exclusively electric, and what Cheryl was wondering what your reasonings were for that.
I'm sorry, Neil, part of that question that you read kind of cut out and got choppy. It's,
Yeah.
I guess, the nature of Zoom. But
Yeah,
were you asking why we're doing all electric?
Yeah. What were the motivations there?
To get to net zero. There's not a solar panel for gas.
That makes the conversation
fair.
A little bit easier. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Jacob and Robin, do you all want to talk about some of your early processes of how you were able to incorporate solar? I know that was kind of a long time coming, but it took a lot of work to get that involved in projects.
Are you looking at me, Jacob?
Yes, I am. I don't know. Go for it, Rob.
Holy smokes, that was a long time ago. And if our Sunlight Solar guy is on too, it'd be awesome to hear from Joe. But we initially, there were a lot of incentives, and so it made it appealing to people to buy those credits. And then the programs stopped, and we had to be really creative. So to be honest, my memory is fuzzy. As long as I've been with Habitat 13 years, I can't remember all the things that we had to go through, but there were a number of different creative ways that we had to make the solar happen. But man, has it been incredible for the families. And I'm sorry, my talk cut out, but I have some great, quotes about how the benefits and the utility costs are so low and the things that they're seeing. So it was worth all of the challenges that we went through. Over the years. It's been a few years since we've been able to do any solar. I don't know, Jacob, if you can remember the last time we did any, but it's been a while.
Yeah, we have limited to solar ready homes, meaning
Right.
Should financing ease up, then either Habitat or our homeowners at the time can have a nice, easy transition into installation of solar. But up until now, that's been our extent.
I'm going to try to summarize another question that we had from Carson. And the question is around the difference, or what are the motivations towards net zero versus just high efficiency? Or what are the motivations of going all the way to zero?
Well, I think for us, one of the motivations was in that equity piece. I mean, if you have $100 a month utility bill, or electric bill rather, and you make between $2,000 and $3,000 a month gross income for a household, you can see how that goes a lot You know, it's a lot more impactful to not have that than if you're looking at a household that makes maybe between $5,000 and $7,000 a month. That $100 is just kind of another drop in the bucket. But for some families that, you know, really have to pinch pennies to give their children educational and recreation opportunities, nutritious food opportunities that are, you know, cost more than just your basic stuff, that $100 will go a long way. And I think that the way that things are modeled, that it's when you have a modeled zero energy home, if you are not, if you're being somewhat conscious, you're going to absolutely not have that utility bill.
Yeah, I think that's also speaking towards lost my thought. Sorry. I'm trying to read too many questions at the same time. Okay, so I think that there is we're getting close to our time here, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. We have the green tour coming up in September, and I'm sorry if I'm skipping. I see that my internet's slowing down a little bit. And our keynote speaker is really going to be talking specifically about those high performance homes and how to make them accessible for the community as a whole, because that's really the nut that we're working on trying to crack. Both making sure that the houses that we're looking at for affordable housing have efficiency included in that, as well as the efficient houses that we're building are accessible to more and more of the population. Those are two separate pieces. So we'd really like everyone to be able to join in for some of our different green tour opportunities in September, and they can check out the Enviro Center website. We'll also include that in the follow-up email. And we have our October Power Hour about home energy scores, and that's really also addressing and trying to bring efficiency and durability into the house buying process and make it more visible. So I think that is all we have for the presentation today, unless I'm not seeing any crazy waving arms from any of the other presenters. But thank you all for joining us. And we look forward to connecting with you at our future events. So thank you all so much.